Uncharted. We all know Uncharted. It's easily one of the most iconic modern video game franchises. It even got its own big budget Tom Holland movie. It's not a good movie, but you know, it's a movie. But I've never really played the games before. I've always wanted to play these games, I just never got around to it. But after being influenced by the pretty bad movie, by a friend who loves these games, and just wanting to play more older games in general, I'm finally sitting down to play them. And yeah, let's start off with the first one, Uncharted, Drake's Fortune. This is a solid video game developed by the one and only Naughty Dog. It's not amazing, but it's just a really fun game. You can tell it's an earlier PS3 game, which isn't a bad thing at all. I love the late 2000s era games, and playing this made me appreciate that era of games even more. There's a charm with Uncharted 1 because it looks good, plays good, but it has a little dab of jank. I personally played this on my PS5 with the Nathan Drake collection. It's probably the best way to play it nowadays given its graphical upgrade and its easy access on PS4 and 5. But even the PS3 version of the game doesn't look bad either. It came out in 2007 and still holds up pretty well. So does the gameplay. This is where the game truly shines. I'm sure you already know the type of game Uncharted is, but I'll run through it anyway. Uncharted Drake's Fortune is an action-adventure game that's a third-person cover shooter and a platformer. I'm not sure if platformer is the way to categorize it, but it has parkour and climbing mechanics, so kind of platforming. That's my favorite part of the game. The climbing, swinging, jumping from cliffs, rooftops, walls, whatever it is. All the platforming, I guess, is just so fun. It's definitely what kept me going throughout the game. That's not to say the cover shooting parts of the game are bad. No, they're actually pretty great and are a sizable portion of the game, but the adventuring aspect of the game is a lot more fun. Yeah, the cover shooting can be really fun as well. It's just really solid, but it can be frustrating at times. It seems like when this game wants to be hard, it's just hard in annoying and tedious ways. There's some parts of the game that'll be set up almost like an arena with a shit ton of enemies and a turret. You have to be careful where you are, but these parts just suck. There's so many people firing at you, throwing grenades, whatever, and I died a lot. I played the game on normal difficulty and I found it was easy, but until these specific parts, they were very frustrating. The spike in difficulty just feels cheap and unnecessary. It killed the pacing for me. Luckily, stuff like this only happens once in a while, and the rest of the combat segments are fun and balanced well. Unfortunately, that's not all the frustrating aspects of this game. The jet ski segments are also very annoying for a similar reason too. It just seems like Naughty Dog didn't know how to make the segments hard, so they just threw a bunch of oil barrels in the river and a shit ton of enemies everywhere, and it's just annoying. Every time I died, it seemed like I died because of the shitty controls on the jet ski or the abundance of oil barrels. Both jet ski segments aren't very fun, especially the second one. Some other aspects of the game can be slightly frustrating too, but nothing major, like the puzzles. The puzzles are kind of a pace breaker. It makes sense that they're here because it's, you know, adventure, Indiana Jones. And it fits, but I don't know, man, they're just so brain dead and boring. I totally get why they're in here, but it's just I could have designed them a little more better and made them seem more worth doing, because it just was like, I just would rather be shooting guys or platforming right now. I know I'm kind of digging into this game right now, but it's a fun game. It's paced really well, and I really enjoyed playing it. You can tell it's the first game in the series, though, and that Naughty Dog was only getting started with what they can do with a game like Uncharted. But now, let's get into the story. Treasure hunter Nathan Drake and Elena Fisher recover the coffin of Sir Francis Drake, the apparent ancestor to Nathan Drake. They located it from coordinates on a ring Nate wears around his neck. The coffin contains Sir Francis Drake's diary, which gives them the location of El Dorado. Pirates attack and destroy Nate's boat, but Nate's friend and mentor, Sully, rescues the two in a seaplane. Afterwards, they leave Elena at the dock because they do. I really like this opening. It's not the best one in the series, which I'm sure you all know which one is, but it still threw us into the action really well and introduced us to our characters and who they are. Nate and Sully discover a Nazi U-boat where they realize that El Dorado is not a city, but rather a golden statue, or an idol. But mercenaries led by Gabriel Roman, who Sully owes a massive debt to, and his lieutenant Atuag Navarro, sorry about that, intercept Nate and Sully. Sully is killed, and Nate escapes. He then finds Elena and flies with her to an island. Elena and Nate are separated, and Nate heads toward an old fort to find Elena. Briefly captured by pirates led by his old associate Eddie Raha, who is great by the way, Elena breaks Nate free and they fly to another island's old custom house. Or the same island, sorry. Then we find Sully, who's shockingly alive, but the way he survived is actually pretty cool, so it's okay. Then after some more swashbuckling times, we run into Eddie again and the weird mutated zombie guys for the first time, who I'm honestly not a fan of. I get what they're going for since this is based on Indiana Jones type stories, and there's always a supernatural element to these types of stories. I just feel like it was out of place. It's just a little jarring considering how grounded the game is for the most part, and how supernatural these little guys are. It doesn't help out either that their designs are really goofy and not good. Nate and Elena escape and find themselves in an abandoned German bunker, where Nate learns the Germans were also after the statue of El Dorado, so that means that they were also weird mutant zombie guys. Nate finds Elena again, who has been captured by Roman and Navarro. They reach the statue before Nate and Sully can get to them though, and Navarro, who knows the curse of the statue, tricks Roman into opening the statue, revealing it to be a mummy infected with an airborne mutagenic virus, which caused the weird little zombie guys. And then Roman turns into one of the zombie mutants just right before he does, I guess. Navarro kills him and takes the lead of his men. Navarro plans on selling the virus as a biological weapon, but after a tussle between Navarro and Nate sinks both the sarcophagus and him to the bottom of the ocean. Then Sully comes in, scoops Elena and Nate with a little bit of treasure, saves the day. And yeah, that's the story of the game. I like this story. It's not amazing, but it's not bad. It's fine, which is okay. It's a fun homage to classic adventure plots, also a good starting point to this franchise. The characters are definitely where it shines though. Nathan Drake, Elena, and Sully are all great, and all the villains are just goofy and hammy and, fun. I don't find the plot super interesting, but I appreciate it nonetheless, because it complements the gameplay pretty well. So something else I want to say about Uncharted before I wrap this video up is that I find it similar to Resident Evil 5. Very different games for sure, but they have tons of similarities. They're both shooters that have set pieces in old ruins, jungles, bases, bunkers. They have enemies that were once normal people that have been mutated by a virus, and feature a villain who has something to do with a virus as a bioweapon. I'm not saying that this is a bad thing, it's just an observation I had while playing this game and while playing Resident Evil 5 too, like last year. And Uncharted 1 actually came out first, so it's weird but in a cool way. I guess, I don't know, I just get Resident Evil 5 vibes from this game, and vice versa I guess, but it's okay. Take that as you will. And yeah, that's the first Uncharted game. It has its problems for sure. It can be frustrating, has some jank, and I have some story issues with it, but overall it's a fun game with cool characters. And you can tell it's an early PS3 game, but as an early PS3 game it holds up really well. And if you haven't played it yet, I recommend it. The Nathan Drake collection is really cheap on PS4 and 5, and for PS3 it's like a $5 game now, at least here in Canada, so it's definitely super accessible and really cheap for a great game, or a good game. So yeah, I hope you liked my goofy goober brain talk about this pretty cool game. If you want to, you should subscribe, hit that like button, eat some cheese, do whatever you want. Cheers.